Hi beautiful people. Before we begin, I love seeing our community on my Instagram. I get to see pictures of you guys, so please go follow me at GodIsGray. So last week I did a pretty heated response to Paul and Morgan's video on birth control. I was genuinely furious that they promoted irresponsible sex that could lead to unwanted pregnancies, while simultaneously putting out a live stream where they told outright lies about abortion. However, for this video I'm gonna take a different tone. One, I'm going to explain the common misconceptions between pro-life and pro-choice people. Two, I'm going to solve abortion. This is not a joke. I have it figured out. I am praying so hard that you guys will soften your hearts and listen to what I have to say. Three, I'm going to dive into these videos by Paul and Morgan
to talk about some abortion, some stuff going on with abortion,
and Sarah Therese.
Today we're going to keep this pro-life, pro-abortion conversation going.
Let's start with pro-choice. The term pro-choice is often conflated with pro-abortion or pro-death.
My first issue is that we use euphemisms way too much. People say the word abortion and termination of pregnancy when really it is the murder or killing of a human life, a baby.
People say pro-choice is not pro-abortion. Yes, it is.
And I understand why they think this. A lot of the rhetoric has become my body, my choice, keep your laws off my ovaries, and at worst, dead baby jokes or celebrating abortion. Whether or not a pro-choice person agrees with this type of signage can make a pro-life person believe that pro-choice people only care about the pregnant person while completely disregarding the baby or the fetus. On the converse, when pro-life policy makers, like in Alabama, don't make exception for rape or incest, let alone the general autonomy of the person making that baby, pro-choicers can get outraged that the baby or fetus is getting utmost priority over the pregnant person. And this may be a slip of Sarah's tongue, but she said it.
We like life, especially when it comes to an unborn child.
She seems to put the value of the baby over the mother. We are to defend the defenseless, take care of those in need, and reflect Christ's love to the world. Therefore, utmost respect for the baby or fetus and the mother is imperative. When we disregard the value of one or the other, the opposing movement will rise up with rage. And this is inevitable because both groups see abortion exactly for what it is, a matter of someone's life. Pro-life people generally believe that life begins at conception.
Fetus is human life. A fetus is a baby.
Sarah believes this, but she really represents the extreme. She doesn't make an exception for rape.
One crime doesn't make it okay for another crime to be put on an innocent person.
Poverty.
Don't kill the baby over being born into like a bad household.
Or the mother's health.
Every time I get in the car, I'm risking my life. Every time I leave the house, I risk my life. Every time I drink water, somehow I could be risking my life.
I think their perspectives are extreme. But in reality, both movements are quite gray. Each represents a wide variety of opinion. For example, some pro-lifers do make exception for rape and the mother's health, while some pro-choicers believe that life begins at conception. I, as a Christian, believe this myself. But this, and I'm begging you guys to understand, is the wildest kick of all. In our movements, we both, pro-life and pro-choice, do not like abortion, let alone love it. What I need pro-lifers to understand is that pro-choice is not your enemy. We want pregnant people to have autonomy and choice, but we want abortion rates to decrease. That said, number two, let's solve abortion together. Guys, get excited. It's actually possible. I got dozens of letters from the God is Grey community from pro-lifers who actually agree with what I'm about to say. Pro-life policy makers cause more abortion. Pro-choice policy makers prevent abortion. I know this sounds too ironic to be true, but hear me out. Pro-life policymakers cause more abortion not because they're evil or lying to us, but because they're not educating themselves on what actually prevents abortion. This is why I got in an Instagram fight with Morgan. I regret to say I reacted poorly, but she responded to my plea to talk with, "I will not be watching your video, neither will Paul. I understand why you would think we have not done our research, but I have been doing my research on abortion for 10 years. And this sent me into a rage. And not because I don't like Morgan, but because the research that she's telling you guys about is wrong. And I beg you, if you don't believe me, do the research on your own. Because what prevents abortion is very simple. Comprehensive sex education education, access to birth control, and resources. Let's take a real example. Abortion in the Netherlands was fully legalized in 1984. Despite being fully legal, the Netherlands has one of the lowest abortion rates in the entire world, fluctuating between 5 to 8 per 1,000. Why? Because they have comprehensive sex education, family planning programs, a national public health insurance system, cultural acceptance of sterilization, and wide access to contraception. On the other end, El Salvador criminalized abortion in 1998, much like Alabama wants to do. The result, Christians, is nothing to celebrate. Despite being criminalized, El Salvador has one of the highest abortion rates in the world, 37 per 1,000. Women consistently die from illegal abortions, and pregnant teenagers who commit suicide account for 3 out of every 8 maternal deaths. Listen to that, Christians. Teenagers that are pregnant, that are so desperate, they are killing themselves.
If you passed this bill and this was in effect when I got pregnant, I would not be sitting here today because I know I would have taken my own life.
Be pro-life, but fight your heart out for education, for birth control, and do not let your state teach abstinence-only education. And unlike Paul and Morgan, thankfully, Sarah agrees with me on this.
If you just want to have sex, then you know what? Be smart about it. Birth control, condoms, and even abstinence, that is what I call being responsible.
And lastly, number 3, this really isn't to start a fight, but I do think it's important to point out the fallacies in both of these videos. Here's the big one.
So there's a law passed in New York that abortions should be fully acceptable up to the point of birth.
This just extreme killing your baby when you're right about to deliver it.
They're even going one step farther and saying that if a baby is born and they decide that the mother doesn't want it, or the baby was supposed to be aborted and the abortion techniques didn't work,
the mother should be able to decide whether or not she actually wants to kill the baby outside of the womb.
they will put the baby aside and actually decide, as this baby is living and breathing, if they will terminate it.
This is an absolute lie. It is not true. Infanticide is 100% illegal in every state. Here, I believe, is the source of this lie.
Late-term abortion, allowing children to be ripped from their mother's womb right up until the moment of birth, and then execute the baby. Execute the baby.
When someone tells a lie, it can trickle down and feel real, but it's not. The reality of late termination is actually devastating. These are people who potentially bought a crib, had a baby shower, picked out a name. These parents are faced with the unthinkable. Late termination out of convenience is a blatant lie. Sarah also explicitly details abortion, and that's okay. We can be horrified by the procedure. Yes, these babies have fingers and toes and a heartbeat, but this is not true.
Planned Parenthood is so against ultrasounds and works hard at shutting down a lot of ultrasounds, because if you can't see it, then you don't think about it and you're blind to it, and they want you to be blind to it.
Painting providers as heartless devils is a generalization I have never seen in real life. Planned Parenthood performs an ultrasound before a termination, whether the pregnant person wants it or not. The pregnant person can choose to divert their eyes, but Planned Parenthood requires an ultrasound. Another thing,
93% of abortion has nothing to do with the baby's health, the mom's health, rape or incest or anything. It doesn't work for the woman. It's just not in her plans. She's just not ready for it.
Christians, stop perpetuating the lie that abortions occur out of convenience. 75% of abortion clients were poor or low income, and 26% were at the poverty level. If you cannot imagine, cannot even fathom being desperate enough financially to have an abortion, that itself is a privilege. Stop pretending that poverty is not the most important factor.
I have one child and zero income, no work, and I can take care for 2 kids.
And this is a convoluted point, but there's 2 things I'd like to say.
Democrat governor in Louisiana would sign into law a heartbeat bill. And I think one of the main things we're talking about here is the viability. A lot of people are seeing, technology science has improved so much that children can actually stay alive much quicker.
He's right, technology is improving, but a baby is by no means viable outside of the womb at 6 weeks. The motivation for this bill was actually to proclaim life at a heartbeat, to draw that moral line in the sand.
Women die from abortions, and a lot of people don't talk about that.
Abortion is dangerous, and they don't want to tell you that, they don't want to publicize that, but it is dangerous.
Guys, I'm trying not to be biased. I searched far and wide for legal abortion death rates. This is all I could find. According to the Guttmacher Institute, 24 women died from legal abortion from 1972 to 1979. Propaganda site Abort73 also claimed the same number, 24 deaths from 1972 to 1979. So I have no idea where they're getting these death claims from. On the converse, if you want to make abortion illegal, 22,880 women die of illegal abortion each year.
A lot of times, after they have an abortion, they have a lot of trouble having kids in the future.
As for abortion causing infertility, the abortion pill should have no effect on future pregnancies. As for surgical abortions, this requires an instrument be inserted in the cervix. In rare cases, this can cause scarring, more often with people who have had multiple abortions. But this type of scarring can also occur when women have had births that resulted in multiple C-sections. But again, in both cases, which are rare, surgical removal of the scar tissue can restore fertility. In conclusion, if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Don't use this video to fight one another. If we fight for access, education, and resource, you will only be looking at 5 to 8 abortions for every 1,000 pregnancies. And then you can yell at those 5 to 8 people all day, every day if you like. But wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be lovely to see our numbers in America go so low? I love you guys so much. Please support my Patreon or Venmo if you can. God bless.